Hey now, it is a feel-good Friday and a Red Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Welcome to the program. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. He's Dan Lucero. Just the two of us today. Jake Laban has the day off. Lots of football to get to and only so much time. We are off at 4:30 today because we've got K-State football. The Cats are back in action. Had to move up their practice schedule a day this week because they've got Friday night football. That's right. Sorry, high school football in a part of the country where high school football means a whole lot. We got to play Big 12 football tonight for some reason. So Kansas State is on the road in Stillwater, taking on Oklahoma State this evening. 4:30 pregame start time, 6:30 kickoff right here on your home for Wildcats Athletics, 580 WIBW. So we're out of here early today. We've got our own football broadcast coming up tonight as well over on our sister station, Country 1069. As we've got our Lewis Toyota High School football game of the week, a Week 6 non-league bout tonight as Shawnee Heights takes on Wamego, looking for a little revenge after they got smacked last year on the road in Wamego. Pregame begins for that game at 6:45, kickoff at 7, and again, that'll be over on Country 1069. Yours truly, Dan and Greg Akagi, will be on the call of that game tonight. Coming up here in 580 Sports Talk in the next 2.5 hours, again with the early show, we'll get to our Chiefs keys to the game and big Chief picks for Sunday's tilt with the Minnesota Vikings up at US Bank Stadium. That's coming up here in just a few moments. We'll also play Change My Mind this hour, and we'll hear from K-State starting defensive end Khalid Duke. Got to speak to the senior pass rusher extraordinaire earlier this week. So we'll hear our conversation with Khalid Duke coming up in just a little bit. We will preview that K-State game coming up tonight as well against Oklahoma State, an Oklahoma State team that frankly is not very good. We'll also look ahead to KU versus UCF coming up tomorrow afternoon. That game will be in Lawrence. Big game in Lawrence for celebration of program history, by the way. Tony Sands and Nick Reed both being put in the KU Ring of Honor. Glenn Mason and Mark Mangino will be in the building coming up tomorrow. I am very excited about that part. Additionally, we'll play some On Second Thought. Matt Derrick is going to join us for our our Chiefs Insider. Get all the final thoughts on what's going on with the Chiefs and Vikings heading into the weekend. Travis Kelce took the podium today. We'll also get our game picks and a final word, and that'll send you into the football weekend here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. As always, we're taking your texts. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. And the YouTube comment section wide open to you. You are welcome to be a part of that as well. Works just like the text line, except you're watching us on video right next to the text box. Hit us up on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of our channel. Our pal Mark on YouTube saying hello. Happy Friday to Mark and everyone else who's watching or listening along in any of the many ways you can get in touch with the show today and on a daily basis. We're short on time today, so let's dive right on into our Chiefs keys to the game. It will be Chiefs versus Vikings coming up on Sunday, not tomorrow, on Sunday, 3:25 kickoff, 2 o'clock pregame, and that game, of course, can be heard right here on 580 WIBW with Mitch Holthus and the gang on the call for that one. The Chiefs currently favored by just 3.5 points over the Vikings in Minneapolis.
I think the opening line was 5. So, there's been quite a bit of movement in favor of the Vikings. This is what they call in Vegas a pros versus Joes sort of betting situation, where the sharp money, the guys who do this for a living, they're all on the Vikings, and the public, the Joes, all on the Chiefs.
That's often the case. And we've talked about it on this show a number of times. The Chiefs are not especially good against the spread, 2-2 so far this year. They did not cover, as we know, last week against the Jets. By the way, some places had this line opening at 6, by the way. So it has moved considerably toward the Vikings. Those are your bettors that put like 10, 20, 50 or more $1,000 on these games.
Yes, your sharps are the one who bet more than maybe you make.
I think one of the things, and I had to learn this at one point too, and I think a lot of people don't realize this, when the line moves, especially a considerable amount, that's not generally because a lot of Joe Schmoes like us are betting on the games, unless you have a lot more money than you're letting on. Unless you're putting $50K on a game, Dan, when you bet on it, we're not moving lines.
No,
like millions and millions of regular people all on the same side of a bet. Okay, that might move it a little bit. But it's the big, the big wigs.
The big
in
kahunas.
Vegas. Yeah. When they put money on a game, Darren Ravel reports on it, and then it moves the line. Or maybe in the other direction that happens. They move the line, then Darren Ravel reports on it. So that's where the Chiefs spread sits going into this weekend. I will go with my key number one first here, Dan, and that is kind of trying to split the baby here defensively with your pass rush, trying to win with just 4 pass rushers. We know Spags is going to blitz. That's just part of the Steve Spagnuolo defense. There are going to be some exotic blitz packages. You know, the Vikings know those are coming. Kirk Cousins knows that they're coming, and we know that they're coming as well. Now, Kirk Cousins has been very good this year when the pocket is kept clean. He has been his entire career. When he hasn't had pressure in his face, he's very accurate. He's got a good enough arm. He's put up big numbers when he's had a clean pocket throughout his career. Now, he is considerably worse when under pressure, although not bad. He hasn't been bad under pressure this year. It's just not as good as when he is kept clean. Add on to that, he's actually been quite accurate when he's faced the blitz this year. This is from Pro Football Focus. Over 80% of his passes have still been on target when facing blitz pressure this year. That's in the top 5 in the NFL in terms of quarterbacks who have actually played a minimum number of snaps this year. Guys who have played, barely and faced 1 blitz, that doesn't count. So top 5 in the NFL for Cousins in that stat. To me, with a Vikings team that has turned the ball over a bunch this year, that says try to get home with as few people as possible and try to split the difference. You don't want to give him too much time. He'll pick you apart. You don't want to blitz necessarily too often because he's had success against that. So try to hit him where he has had his least efficient, least amount of success so far this year, and that is getting home with just 4 pass rushers. Let your linebackers hunt. Let those defensive backs get in coverage, make plays on the ball. Maybe not McDuffie. He's not great on ball skills, but everybody else in the secondary seems to be. Let them make plays for you and try to get Cousins right in that sweet spot where he's not able to just get the ball out quickly or isn't able to just wait forever before finding Justin Jefferson.
And you get in that situation if you can take a lead and you can limit Minnesota's running game. We've talked about how Minnesota's rushing attack has been pretty limited, pretty lacking through these first 4 games. Alexander Madison's raw numbers look okay, but there's not a lot of juice to that running game. And if you can force the Vikings into a lot of passing downs, that's when you get to pin your ears back a little bit. The old saying for a defensive lineman is, if we stop the run, we get to have fun. It's some form or fashion of that. That's sort of where the Chiefs are at. If you want to do some damage with your front 4 pass rush, the way you do that is you play complementary football, not just stopping the run, but the offense has to do their part and throw some early punches, get out to a lead, and force the Vikings to have to play from behind and maybe put some of those running plays on the back burner. That's when you're going to have a chance, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, to really bring some noise and try and disrupt Cousins and cause those turnover-prone plays that Cousins has been known for. 4 interceptions and 4 fumbles in the first 4 games this season for Kirk Cousins. And that dovetails to my first point, which is the turnover margin, the turnover battle. The Vikings have to be feeling like if we were taking better care of the ball, we could be 4-0. They might have a point.
Yeah.
Their losses this year have been by very narrow margins. They lost by a touchdown to the Buccaneers. They lost by a touchdown to the Eagles in a game where they turned it over a bunch. They turned over a bunch of both of those games. And then they lose to the Chargers in week 3 in a game where they turn it over twice, including once at the goal line as they're driving for what would have been the game-tying touchdown. So turnovers are the difference for this team right now. It's what's keeping the Vikings from having the record that maybe the talent that they have on hand, suggests that they should. So if you're the Chiefs defense, you have got to find a way to keep a struggling unit struggling and keep them turning the ball over. Be hunting for the strip, looking for that strip sack, intercept the interceptable balls, hands up, deflecting passes at the line of scrimmage. The Chiefs are really good at that last year. That hasn't been a skill much in evidence so far this season for the Chiefs front, but get some tip balls, see if you can't get an interception. A field flipping play or 2 in this game will go a long way toward making life a lot easier on a Chiefs offense that'll enter this game still trying to find its way.
First key for Jake, by the way, we do have his picks and keys available, even though he is not here physically. So his first key, no turnovers. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty obvious one. Don't give this offense, which can be dangerous, hasn't been great, but can be dangerous. Do not give them more opportunities than you need to. I think that one definitely goes without saying. My number 2, and mine is also a very obvious and easy one. catch the freaking ball. Make plays on the ball. Patrick Mahomes is going to get it out, and he is going to get it to you in this game. So if you are Rashee Rice, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, MVS, any of these guys, catch the ball. The Vikings blitz. We heard it when we talked to Mitch Holthus yesterday. They blitz, and they blitz a lot. And then they're going to keep blitzing, and then they're going to blitz more, and even more after that. Over 50% of their defensive drop back snaps this year, they have brought a fifth or sixth or more pass rushers. It's just what Brian Flores does. Mahomes is great against the blitz, and I assume Minnesota will dial it back at least a little bit, knowing how good Mahomes is against it. But that's what teams do. You don't all of a sudden say, well, we blitz 53% of the time, but this week we're not going to at all. It's what you do. You can't completely change your entire strategy, your entire scheme, your entire identity in 1 week, even against a guy like Mahomes. So they're going to bring a lot of pressure. There are going to be plenty of opportunities in this game with one-on-one matchups, with hot reads, with quick outs, with the screen game, any number of things here. You have got to be able to make plays after the catch and making the catch in the first place as well. There should be opportunities for the entire wide receiver and tight end group in this game to end up making plays. So who is going to step up and actually do it? Sky Moore has had a lot of problems this year so far. Maybe this is the kind of game where he is just lining up in the slot constantly. He's never running anything more than an 8-yard route, but he's going to be open constantly because you're going to get a bunch of favorable matchups with all that extra pressure coming. So somebody in that group, hopefully multiple somebodies other than Travis Kelce, should be able to step up and make plays against this blitz-heavy defense. And maybe that will be the kind of confidence booster, momentum shifter that'll get this offense moving in the right direction through the air.
The Chiefs have always been the team where defenses are willing to break some of their tendencies against. Like you look at week 1, where the Lions in 2022 had played the most man of any defense, and they play a ton of zone, and it caught the Chiefs, I think, a little bit off guard in that game. And there are other instances, too, of teams breaking their tendencies because otherwise Mahomes is going to break whatever it is that you do. But I still think that there's a difference between breaking tendency and being who you are, hewing to your identity. And this Vikings defensive identity has been about getting pressure, has been about blitzing. And Mahomes is so good pre-snap at identifying where the pressure's coming from and who that's going to leave open. And I think that if the Vikings are going to bring extra men in the pass rush, they are asking for trouble. They are asking for the Chiefs to put up a big number on them. My second key is about the running game. And I think that we discussed this out of the Jets game, which was one of the best rushing performances the Chiefs have had probably in the entire Mahomes era. There have been a lot of 100-yard individual rushing games since Mahomes has been the quarterback, but Isaiah Pacheco went up over the century mark against the Jets and primarily did it on runs that go between the tackles. Runs to the perimeter, runs that are slow to develop. Those are not the Chiefs' bread and butter, especially if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the guy carrying the ball. No, the Chiefs are equipped to play some bully ball, to get downhill between the tackles, behind their guards and center who are elite players, and carve out yardage in that way. And I hope that's how the Chiefs stick to the ground game on Sunday. The Vikings are not particularly imposing on the defensive line. You're going to be able to get some push. You're going to be able to get 4, 5, 6 yards of carry if you want to hammer away, chisel away at the interior. Get Pacheco between the tackles, shorten the distances on second and third downs, and take some of the pressure off of the passing game that has dealt with some pressure this year and has dealt with some issues this year.
I'm fascinated by this matchup for the Chiefs offensive line, and I think this matchup is going to tell us a lot about how good this offensive line is and can be throughout the rest of this year. I was digging through Pro Football Focus last night while I was putting all of this together, but the Vikings actually have a number of players, both on the edge and on the interior, who grade really well against the run so far this year. In fact, they're well into the top 10 in the NFL in run stuff win rate as well, that ESPN stat. So they grade out really well. But here's who the Vikings have played so far this season. The Buccaneers, who have a decent offensive line. Not great. They're better at the tackle spots than inside, but they're okay. The Eagles, who we know have a great offensive line. The Chargers, mediocre to bad. The Panthers, maybe the worst in the NFL. This is a good Chiefs offensive line. I think is or can be a great offensive line for the Chiefs. If they're able to get some push and are able to have a strong and efficient game inside the tackles, that's going to make me buy even more stock in this offensive line, considering how well Minnesota has played there. Now, if the Vikings are able to get a lot of push up front and are holding Pacheco and McKinnon and Edwards-Helaire to like 4 fewer yards per carry on those inside the tackle runs, I might be a little bit more concerned and wonder, hey, what is going on when you've got guys like Smith, Humphrey, and Tooney? Why aren't you able to get a push even against a good defensive front? So I'm really excited for that matchup. I think that's going to tell us a lot about what this Chiefs team can do up front this year offensively. Secondly, for Jake, and we've already kind of gotten to this, says, get to the quarterback, force Cousins to throw it fast. Jake's not here to defend himself, but Dan and I have like full paragraphs here of our keys. Jake's got one sentence, but sometimes, short and sweet is how you should do it.
Hey, he's not really working today, so we should be grateful we got anything from him at all.
That's true. That is absolutely true. All right, big Chief pick. Who you got?
Going with Travis Kelce.
I thought about this one too.
It's always a bit of a cheat when you pick Kelce, right?
Mm-hmm.
And his numbers in the 3 games that he's been back have not been what we expect from Travis Kelce. He's visited the end zone once, and he's had, I think it was 6 catches last week, half a dozen catches, which is pretty good, but he hasn't had one of those monster games yet. But if Minnesota wants to blitz and they don't have a great secondary, their linebackers aren't particularly great in coverage, this feels like the kind of game where Kelsey's going to feast. I think he's going to find the end zone in this game at least once. I think he's going to have a big game.
I'm going with Rashee Rice here. I'm going with another pass catcher. And like I said, I think there are going to be a number of opportunities for these young wide receivers to make plays. Now, the one caveat I should add here is it's not purely all right, we're manning up 4 defensive backs on 4 receivers, and we're going to send 7 other guys after the quarterback, and you're going to have a bunch of one-on-one matchups. That's not exactly how this works. Flores will bring out the zone blitz. In fact, there's a lot out there about how much he loves to go with those coverage zone blitzes, drop out defensive linemen, send extra linebackers, maybe bring a safety into the box and have him rush. So he'll try to disguise some of these things. You may know that the pressure is coming. You might not know exactly who or from where it is coming. So you're going to have guys who can, be smart with their routes, get open in the zone, but also win some of those one-on-one matchups. This feels to me like it could be a breakout game for Rashee Rice. Feels like the kind of game where he could very realistically catch 8 balls for 100+ yards and a touchdown. I think he is adept at beating guys one-on-one because I do think he's a good separator who's got above average speed. And I think he is also a smart player. We saw this at SMU a lot, who can take advantage of those zone defenses, sit down in the right spot. He can be your hot read guy on quick outs. I think he is primed for a big day, so I'm looking forward to him getting to match up with that Vikings secondary, which, we talked to Mitch Holthus a lot yesterday about Harrison Smith and how in his career he's been severely underrated in Minnesota, one of the better safeties in the NFL for the better part of a decade now. His play has started to decline. He is not the Harrison Smith of 2018, 2019 anymore. So if you end up with some shots one-on-one deep on a safety, and Lewis Cine has been banged up, and he has really not been the player that they thought he was going to be coming out of Georgia when they drafted him a year ago. You get a matchup up the seam on one of those safeties, I think there's some real big play opportunities for Rashee Rice in this game. Jake is going with George Karlaftis in this game, thinks he's going to get after the quarterback a bunch, and I would love to see that against a below-average Minnesota offensive line. Ranked 22nd in the league by PFF, by the way. Jake's going Chiefs 33, Vikings 24, but says that he's got the backdoor cover 100% in play, and to watch out for that.
Yeah, with the number 3 and a hook, you always have to be careful of that backdoor cover. Can't leave that back door open. I think the Chiefs win and cover. I've got 31-24 Kansas City. I think that, again, I think we're overstating a little bit some of the offensive issues. We're acting like, oh, this is a deep slump. These wide receivers aren't any good. Now, they would have put 30 on the Jets last week if Mahomes had decided he wanted to score.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good output against a really good defense on the road. This is also on the road, but this is not the caliber of defense that the Jets are. I expect the Chiefs to get an early rhythm, stay in a rhythm, put up a 30-burger, and beat the Vikings, who I think will score and move the ball, and Justin Jefferson's going to make at least one eyebrow-raising, eye-popping catch. You know that's coming, but I expect the Chiefs to be able to win what I think will be a high-scoring game. This is the over, too, by the way, 31-24. The current total is 53, I believe.
Yes, and I think it actually was 52.5 last I looked, and yeah, 52.5 right now. So yes, that would go over regardless. I'm going with the under here. I'm going to go Chiefs 28, Vikings 20. I'm going to bank on this Chiefs defense to be able to limit Minnesota, not stop them completely, but limit them at least a little bit. I think McDuffie on Jefferson or Snead on Jefferson is going to be a really fun matchup. I think the Chiefs will be able to get pressure on Cousins. That's going to make his numbers decline a little bit. So I'll go just under the total, Chiefs 28, Vikings 20. We would love to get your picks for Chiefs Vikings coming up on Sunday. Send them either to the text line or to the YouTube comments. Our YouTube channel called 580 Sports Talk. Text line number is 785-272-9429. We're just getting started on this shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk on this Red Friday edition of the show. We'll hear from Khalid Duke, starting defensive end for Kansas State, coming up a little bit later on this hour. But on the other side of this timeout, we'll play our weekly edition of Change My Mind. All that is coming up here on this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Just getting started on this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan. He's Dan. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. A couple of entries in the YouTube comments for some Chiefs picks for the weekend. Mark says he's got Chiefs 28-21, and note that crowd's going to be loud. It does get loud in that new stadium in Minnesota. However they engineer it, that stadium does get really loud when they're hyped up.
Yes, also murders birds.
Yes. Is that still a problem? Do they ever fix that?
No, they don't care to.
Okay.
So it will remain a problem because they don't care to fix it.
Minnesota Vikings, pro animal cruelty?
Yes.
I'm just asking questions.
I don't even think that's a question. I think that's a statement. I think that's a fair statement.
Vance in the YouTube comments, he says he's got Chiefs in a close one, 24-21. Also going with the under there. Love for you to send those in. YouTube comments, 580 Sports Talk's the name of our YouTube channel. Text line number is 785-272-9429. Let us know your thoughts, who's going to win, and what the score is going to be for Chiefs-Vikings coming up on Sunday. But right now it is time for Change My Mind, and mine is actually about the Minnesota Vikings. There have been 12 of the 32 NFL teams who have never won a Super Bowl. Can you believe it's that many? 12 of 32.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
We're going into Super Bowl 58 this year. Those teams are the Arizona Cardinals, Atlanta Falcons, Buffalo Bills, Carolina Panthers, Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns, Detroit Lions, Houston Texans, Jacksonville Jaguars, Los Angeles Chargers, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Tennessee Titans. Change my mind. The Vikings never winning a Super Bowl is the most surprising of any of those 12.
That is correct. I don't know if you have had a chance, but if you have, 7 hours to kill to watch a documentary on the internet. The folks at Secret Base did a documentary about the history of the Minnesota Vikings. And what stands out about the Vikings is they've never really been terrible for very long. There's not a fallow stretch of Viking football where they went like a decade and they just stunk. They kept going 3-13. They hired a bunch of bad coaches. In fact, I don't think they've had a streak of longer than 3 straight losing seasons. In the entire history in the Super Bowl era of the Minnesota Vikings, I don't believe they've ever had more than 3 losing seasons in a row.
And if I'm not mistaken here, Dan, the only time they've ever done that, 3 losing seasons in a row, it was their first 3 years in the NFL.
Yeah, so they've never done it in the Super Bowl era. Like in the last 57 seasons.
Yeah,
they have never had more than 3 straight losing seasons, which is remarkable. That is an incredible level of consistency. And we don't think of the Vikings as like a model of consistency because their peaks are often marred by spectacular playoff failure.
Yep.
Like the best teams they've ever had tripped over their own 2 feet at close to the finish line in spectacular fashion, losing the NFC Championship game in 98, losing the NFC Championship game in, it was 09 with Brett Favre, I believe. Losing the NFC Championship game after the Minneapolis Miracle. They went to 4 of the first 10 Super Bowls that were ever played. Like, this is a franchise that if they did have a ring, and you would think that they would, given their history, like you look at the how they compare to other franchises, winning percentage wise, times been to the playoffs, times been to the Super Bowl, they compare really favorably. They've just never gotten it done. It's the damnedest thing. It is absolutely the most surprising.
In the history of the NFC Central/North division, because the North is just what the old Central was minus the Buccaneers. No team has won the division more often than the Minnesota Vikings. More than the Packers, who we do think of as a model consistent franchise.
And 4 championships will do that.
The Vikings have won the division more than they have. I would say yes, because they've got tons of Hall of Famers. They've had not just great players, they've had superstar players. And yet they just have never done it. The number 2 would be the Bills, but you need the the specific historical context. Going 0-4 in 4 straight years is still unthinkable.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, none of these other teams you think of as like, oh man, I can't, like, I guess the Browns have been around for a long time.
Yeah, and they were great in the pre-Super Bowl era, like
the 40s and 50s.
Right. The Lions have never even really been that.
Speaking of, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have won the NFC Central/North more recently than the Detroit Lions. They have not been in that division since 2002.
That is very funny.
Yeah.
No, the inability of the Vikings, and like in those Super Bowls, it's not like they went in, but they were huge underdogs. They were significant favorites in Super Bowl 4, which is a fact that Kansas City fans will be more than happy to recount as part of their retelling of that particular Super Bowl.
People also forget the Vikings lost the original NFL championship trophy until it was found in some dude's attic a couple years ago. It had been gone for like 45 years. No one knew where it was.
I really can't recommend any higher. The History of the Minnesota Vikings from Secret Base. It's on YouTube. If you have like a Fire Stick or Chromecast, whatever, and you can stream it to your TV, do so. It's a very
It's really
entertaining
well
one.
done.
It's really entertaining stuff. Changed my mind. Major League Baseball should reseed its postseason after the wild card series.
I'm not surprised you brought this up because I saw you tweeting about it the other day about the playoff matchups in the National League. I was discussing reseeding the postseason with someone a while back, and they're saying reseeding that's so complicated. Why do that? I was like, the NFL does that, right? They're like, wait, what?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
They've done it forever.
That's what the NFL has always done. I would say, you know what? No, I'm going to say yes, because now that you've got the 6 teams going in, you should just format it like they formatted the NFL playoffs prior to the last 2 years.
Yes. If you can send somebody to a playoff site within like 2 days of the end of the regular season, certainly you can do it within 2 days of the end of a wild card series. The reason I bring this up, in the National League, you have 2 teams that have won their respective series in the wild card series and are moving on. One of them is the Philadelphia Phillies, who were 90-72. The other, the Arizona Diamondbacks, who were 84-78. Philadelphia, objectively and by any measure, the better team, is going to play the 104-win Braves, while Arizona gets the 100-win Dodgers. Part of the problem is that Arizona got to play against a Central Division champion, and that Philadelphia was the 4 seed. So they do it 3-6-4-5. 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5. But 3 is locked into being the worst division champion, where over in the American League, you can argue that they should just only allow for a home series, but not guarantee, like the NBA does, a top seed for a division winner. Because Minnesota was the 3 seed in the American League, but they only won 87 games. And Tampa Bay, who won 99 games, was the 4 seed, played a better team, and lost. So I think they should, I don't think I go far enough. I think they should be much smarter with how they seed. Otherwise, what does the regular season really mean?
And of any sport should have their regular season mean something, it's the league that plays 162 games over 6 months.
I find myself more and more over the years. I don't take like a rooting interest in the playoffs unless my team is in it. They're never in it.
Sure.
But I do root for the results that I see in October to make sense based on what I saw from April to September.
I get that.
Like, if Atlanta loses to Philadelphia, I'm going to be bummed out. Like, I really want Atlanta, Los Angeles in the National League Championship Series. Not because I particularly like either of those teams. In fact, I hate the Dodgers. I kind of like the Braves. It's a fun Braves team. But I want to see the 2 best teams play a best of 7. I don't want to see that denied because the Diamondbacks got hot for 4 games and accidentally eliminated the Dodgers. Like, that doesn't do it for me. It's not satisfying, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, I'll take it because it's playoff baseball and I like the playoffs. But I want the matchups that pit best on best.
I get that.
And I think Major League Baseball should do more and whatever it can to make sure we get those.
I want to go back to 4 playoff teams.
I'm fine going back to 2. And you tell me Atlanta, Baltimore wouldn't be a banger of a World Series?
It would be.
We could be done by next week.
It would be fun. We'd actually get the series to end in October. That would be nice. Definitely would be nice. Let's get to a break. We'll talk K-State football with Khalid Duke on the other side of this timeout on 580 Sports Talk.
we always watched is like who we try to bring or who we try to emulate our game from.
From ball boy for the Atlanta Falcons to star senior defensive end for the Kansas State Wildcats, Khalid Duke from K-State joining us here on 580 Sports Talk as the Cats get ready to take on Oklahoma State on Friday night. Khalid, thank you so much for taking the time for us, man. We appreciate it. Hope everyone's feeling great, well rested after the off week, and best of luck to you and the guys the rest of the way.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That is Khalid Duke, the star defensive end for the Kansas State Wildcats, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. K-State in action tonight down in Stillwater. Kickoff set for 6:30. Pregame will begin at 4:30 right here on the Sports Voice of Kansas and your home for Wildcat Athletics, 580 WIBW. That does it for hour number one of the show today. Coming up in the second hour of the program, however, we will get our predictions and our previews for both K-State and KU action. K-State obviously coming up in just a few hours. KU will take on UCF coming up tomorrow. We'll get to that. We'll be joined by Matt Derrick, and we'll have our on second thought for the week. Still taking your texts, still taking your comments on YouTube. We'll get to all of it in the 3 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. now, 3 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Just getting started. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. That is the one and only Dan Lucero. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on 580 Sports Talk today. Shortened program this afternoon because we've got K-State football coming up. Pregame begins at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. So we got to get out of there by then. Wyatt and Stan and Matt and the whole crew, they're not waiting for us. They're going to big time us. No, they're the nicest guys in the business. But we're out of here at 4:30, getting you ready for K-State football. We will have our Lewis Toyota High School football game of the week coming up at 7 o'clock. That's kickoff, 6:45 pregame over on Country 106.9. Non-league Week 6 matchup, Class 4A versus Class 5A. Shawnee Heights taking on Wamego, a rematch of a game they played last year. It was the first meeting between the two teams in, if I can get my math correct here, 47 years last year. Back-to-back games now playing this year as well. So that game is coming up. Myself, Greg Akagi, Dan Lucero will be on the call of that one. 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock kick over on Country 106.9. Here in this 3 o'clock hour of the show, our final full hour of the show today and this week, we'll get you our KU and K-State previews here in just a matter of moments. This week's On Second Thought, mine pertains to Thursday Night Football, at least partially. The Bears! Wow! How about that?
Yeah, that was certainly something.
DJ Moore had 100 catches for 4,000 yards and 19 touchdowns last night. Not quite that gaudy, but he did have a huge night. I think it was 230 yards.
8 for 235 and 3. Ask me how I know.
How do you know, Dan?
I'm playing against him in fantasy.
Yeah, I was in one of my leagues, too. In our league, I don't believe our league is standard scoring. He had 49 points last week. I know no one cares about my fantasy team, but I care, and it sucked. It was not fun. I texted my buddy and said, all right, well, see you next week. I'm not even going to check it the rest of the weekend in that game. Justin Fields, outside of targeting DJ Moore, do you know how many other wide receivers caught passes last night for the Bears? Tight ends and running backs only. No other wide receiver caught a pass for the Bears last night except DJ Moore. Justin Fields, I believe, was 7 of 19 targeting other players for 52 yards or 53 yards. And then DJ Moore just went ballistic.
I am forced to conclude that Chase Claypool had the worst vibes of any teammate in the history of the planet. Because they have been a functional football team since they asked him to go away. And today, they made it permanent because they traded him to the Dolphins.
This is the all-time I can fix him trade. Like Mike McDaniel, with the way that offense is humming, even after a loss last week, is going to try to sign every dude with bad vibes and say, no, I can fix him. So I'll be the one.
It's very funny, a quote taken out of context from Mike McDaniel earlier today. He was asked about the trade, and he said, well, we weren't looking for receiving help. And everybody said, well, good, because you didn't get it.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Another one, Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel on Chase Claypool. Quote, you guys want me to say it? He's fast. All right. By the way,
yeah, he's lightning fast. He turned his value from a second round pick to a pick swap in the 6th and the 7th round in no time at all.
I do think this is fair, and I saw this brought up last night. It was very dumb of the Bears to think they could fix a guy that even Mike Tomlin couldn't fix. Like, that's Tomlin's ultimate skill, is not letting bad problems get worse and keeping them under wraps. Look at the players who have been through Pittsburgh in recent years and what happened to them after leaving Pittsburgh or before they got there. He is a miracle worker in that regard. And the Bears thought, no, we can actually do a better job with a guy who's a malcontent. Right on, Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles. So we'll get to some NFL later this hour, too, as Matt Derrick will join us for this week's Chiefs Insider on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Your texts are welcome. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. And we will also take your YouTube comments. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube is where you can check us out there. Had a question, and this is an important clarification from our pal Vance on YouTube. He says, will there be a weekly winner in What Is Wrong With You since we have a short show today? We ended up picking our weekly winner yesterday on the show.
Yes.
Because we knew we were not going to have the segment today since we're off the air early.
Yes. And for everybody wondering, we went with the grandpa officiating a wedding who thought firing a gun would be a good way to get everyone's attention. And instead, it was a good way to wound his 12-year-old grandson.
Homemade bullets.
With a homemade blank that just fired a hardened glue pellet right through his grandkid's shoulder.
Glue bullets. It's unbelievable.
I'm going to make my own blanks. Dude, come on.
Let's get to the college football. First things first. This was tweeted by Pete Thamel of ESPN less than 1 hour ago. He is at the State Fair of Texas, where, of course, the Red River Shootout is played every year at the Cotton Bowl. First, bring back the Cotton Bowl to the Cotton Bowl. I want to see it at Jerry World. We have enough freaking neutral site non-conference games at Jerry World. Put it at the Cotton Bowl, falling concrete and all. Put it back there where it belongs.
That is where the game belongs. Yes.
Okay. Now, game day is there. Everyone for ESPN college football coverage is there at Red River this weekend. For $7, you can get a fried fireball shot.
What?
I don't know what that means.
How you fry liquid?
So I'm looking at this picture that Pete Thamel tweeted right now.
I gotta go find this.
He sent it out 54 minutes ago. And you just see a bunch of cups, some people behind a counter, and what looks to be 8 bottles of Fireball behind a worker.
Yeah, it sure does say fried fireball shot.
You can get all sorts of stuff here.
$7?
You can get something called hot nachitos. Some sort of Cheeto nacho.
I'm guessing. Nah, man, I'd eat those.
$9 for chili nachos.
$3 for a dill pickle? That's
I bet you that
work.
thing is the size of like your forearm.
Nasty work.
Yeah, you're anti-pickle. I'd be all over that.
Strongly anti-pickle.
I'd be all over that.
I'm not going to front. I would do the fried fireball shot. I would absolutely do it.
Are you a Fireball guy? Or at one point, were you a Fireball guy?
Yes.
You do not have to go into more detail than that.
I am choosing not to elaborate. But no, like, if that's the liquor that everybody's passing around, I'm not going to say no. But it's also not something I'm going to go to the local package store and like, I gotta be stocked. I've always got to keep that thing on me.
That cinnamon liquor on me. There are many people on Twitter who are demanding that Pete Thamel try it, by the way. One person said, do it on air, Pete.
Yes.
Spencer Hall said, Pete, you need to serve the public interest and do it. I don't know. $7 is probably a decent deal. Given, surge pricing and everything.
Yeah.
Everything's a price gouge now.
Maybe like a little, like a doughy little vessel. Like if they filled like a little donut, like capola, with some Fireball, deep fried that sucker and served it to hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, if I drank, I'd probably do that. Frankly, like that's not bad. That's just like a spiked donut.
Yeah, I'm in, man. I'm in on the fried fireball shot.
If anyone's ever done one or something similar, please let us know. A, how good it was, and B, how you actually consumed it. Let us know either on the text line 785-272-9429 or hit us up in the YouTube comments and let us know exactly how you consume one of those.
So I am doing a search here. We got a website for a radio station that I think might be in Texas. Here's the description. The fluffy, airy, melt in your mouth sweetness of angel food cake meets the red hot and fiery cinnamon flavor of Fireball cinnamon malt liquor. After deep frying to a perfect golden brown, Fireball is poured over the top and into a shot glass.
Okay.
So I guess I don't entirely understand. It's just you eat the cake and do the shot. Like,
all right.
I guess.
Interesting. That seems like kind of a stretch to call it that then.
Yeah, you're stretching the definition, I think, of calling it fried particularly.
Yeah.
Just cake with a side of Fireball.
Which
keep in mind, I'm not saying I would not do it.
Here, by the way, are some other things you can get, or at least that won the Big Tex Choice Awards for various categories last year at the State Fair of Texas. How about a fried charcuterie board?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, that looks good.
There's not much, truth be told, that I wouldn't do if it were fried.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's true.
I'm still out on pickles, but like I am not a fan by nature of green beans, but I'll eat some fried green beans.
Okay.
I don't know what okra is, but you're telling me I can get it fried? All right, bet. Ever had a fried Twinkie? I have. How about deep fried Oreo? Bet.
Yeah.
Had those.
That's so funny. I don't know what okra is. How about something called peanut butter paradise? It looks to be a gigantic cookie covered in peanut butter with Reese's Pieces and peanut butter cups on top.
Sign me up.
I would die. That would kill me. I would eat it, but it would kill me. Creole etouffee beignets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hard yes.
Deep fried burrito bomb.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. All right, this sounds like the most decadent thing you could ever possibly eat. Deep fried surf and turf empanada. I'd feel like I gained 80 pounds, but I would eat it. Let's make that clear.
I think I gained 5 pounds just talking about this stuff.
Fried Texas barbecue shotgun shells. Let's see.
That might be literal. You never know.
Well, yeah. That's Texas barbecue beef brisket, Velveeta and cream cheese with meat church Texas sugar rub rolled in a pasta sheet, wrapped in bacon, and then rolled in jalapeno breadcrumbs. Dude, I don't feel like that sounds like something I would enjoy, but reading all these back to back to back is making me feel kind of ill. Loaded fries pizza. Oh, that's a curveball. Raspberry chipotle jalapeno popper grilled cheese.
Yes.
That sounds kind of
good.
good.
I'd eat all this stuff. I need to go to Red River just to eat.
Yeah.
The football game is really secondary. I need to experience Red River just to eat my way through the state fair.
A churro. It's a cookies and cream deep fried churro.
Oh my goodness. Eyes just rolled into the back of my head. My toes might have curled a little bit.
Deep fried honey butter brisket swirl.
Yes.
That's got Little Debbie branding on it too. So you know that's good.
We have a text from the 785 asking me how I don't know what okra is. That's legit. Like you could bring it into this room right now and I would not be able to identify it by sight.
I know what it is. I feel like I've eaten it a grand total of once and now I see it and say, nah, I'm good.
Is it green?
Yeah, it's green.
That's what I figured.
It's long. Looks kind of like a digit, like a finger.
Like asparagus?
No, thicker than that. And it's got what is it, seeds, I guess, inside of it.
Yeah, I don't know. Not okra was not one of the vegetables that was a staple at the Lucero family dinner table. And then, I mean, it's been a very long time since I was a youth. It's not been a staple on my own personal dinner table either. I'm like, every now and again it resurfaces like footage of interviews where Al Michaels says, yeah, I don't eat vegetables. I've never had one in my life.
Yeah.
I'm not going that far, but there are definitely some frontiers in vegetable consumption that I just haven't ventured into. I got a little Al Michaels in me.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's entirely fair.
But no, I'm sure like fried okra probably slaps. Like if it's anything like fried green beans, which I regretfully admit are good, then yeah, I'm sure fried okra probably slaps.
I'm looking through the lineup at the State Fair of Texas for the musicians.
Oh, sure.
I'm not going to lie. I was expecting a little better. I thought there would be better acts. Like Lone Star was there, the country band. CeeLo Green was playing one day.
This year, 2023?
Yes.
People queuing up to see
this past
CeeLo?
Saturday. CeeLo.
Shout out all the lyrics to Forget You.
We got multiple Hispanic groups. That makes sense. Like Tuesday's headliner was Bowling for Soup. 2005? What? When did they do that song 1985? That came out when I was in high school. Yeah, I think that was like 2004.
So if they made a song similar to that like today, it would be about 2004.
Yeah, that song came out in 2004.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be a song about 2004 or 2005 made and released today. Like nostalgia about 2005.
Wow. Lil Jon is playing tomorrow.
Oh,
wow.
Hell yes.
Go to Red River, eat all that food, and then go check out Lil Jon.
I would be limited in how crunk I could get, truly, if I'm full of Cheerios and trying to bounce to some Lil Jon classics.
Jake's fave 38 special is going to be there.
Oh, yeah. I assume they just have a residency at State. They
Probably
have a State Fair residency. Any State Fair they want to go to, they're invited.
And then, yeah, a lot of acts I've literally never heard of. Oh, Red Jumpsuit Apparatus is going to be there. Wow, so many good things. We got to make a trip down. Maybe we should go. Just cuz. Well, let's go do a show live from the Red River Shootout.
I'm down. I would absolutely be down for that.
All right, we actually have games we need to preview that are local. K-State coming up tonight, taking on Oklahoma State. Double-digit favorite. The line has just continued to go up over the course of the week. Oklahoma State is in a bad place right now. The big question, can you limit the explosive plays for Oklahoma State if you're Kansas State? Because that has been the number one bugaboo for this team, and that's to be understood because some guys have been banged up. You had a lot of turnover in your secondary at the cornerback spots. I get that. This is the time of year, though, where you need to turn the corner on those. You need to start limiting those because you're only going to have tougher games following this one against Oklahoma State. So can Kansas State limit those explosive plays? The one thing that might benefit them is the fact that Oklahoma State's offense has been anything but explosive this year.
Yeah, they don't generate a lot of explosive plays. So I think for Kansas State, it's going to be about just gap responsibilities, make tackles. I don't know that they're really going to be capable of making too many explosive plays through the air and on the ground. They don't have the speed of a UCF. They don't have the caliber of talent at wide receiver and quarterback that Mizzou did. I feel like this is kind of a get-right opportunity for Kansas State. The only reason for trepidation for Kansas State is that they've lost 7 of the last 8 games in Stillwater. And going back to 2003, this has been a very hard place for Kansas State to go and play. And they have been ranked in a lot of those games where they've gone to Stillwater and not won. The only time they won in Stillwater in the last 20 years was when Oklahoma State was ranked 10th in the country. And I want to say that was freshman Skylar Thompson that went and put up 45 in 2017, and they won that game 45-40.
We can check if that was indeed a Skylar game. By the way, if you're ever wondering, oh, man, I want to go back and look at exactly how often my team has beaten this other team and what years it happened, Winsipedia, one of the best websites on the internet.
This was the Byron Pringle game. He had a monster game.
Oh,
and it was Skylar. It was Skylar. It was 10 of 13 for 204 and 3 touchdowns. All of them to Byron Pringle.
Byron Pringle made a catch last night for the Commanders, and Al Michaels completely skipped over when he played for the Bears, literally last year. And he said, Byron Pringle, former Chief, and then moved on. It was very funny. Yeah, I mean, I'm not scared at all of this Oklahoma State team. K-State is better in every and I know that's not, things happen. I understand. I get that. But they're not good. It's not a good team without a good quarterback, and I don't think especially good play calling on either side of the ball.
Yeah, K-State's the better team. They should win this game. I know strange things can happen. It's a Friday night on the road. That's kind of a weird scenario, but I don't think the vibes are great for this Oklahoma State team, and I just think Kansas State is better at just about everything that you can be better at, and I expect Kansas State to win. I don't know that it's going to be easy. I don't think you take easy for granted on the road in this league, but I would not be surprised if K-State, if they cover that spread, if they're playing well enough to win by 11.5, 12.5, they're probably playing well enough to do about what they did to them last year.
KU takes on UCF tomorrow. First ever meeting between these two programs, KU and UCF, and it happens in league play. There are a lot of individual things you can point to in this game. John Rice Plumlee getting back for UCF. How differently do they play with him versus with their backup, Timmy McClain, who has started the last 3 games for UCF? I've seen some people say that KU might actually match up better against Plumlee than they do against McClain, which is an interesting take. So you've got that to look at. UCF obviously has a ton of team speed. KU has done a pretty good job overall defensively, except for last week. Can they bounce back from that? But the number one overall question is, can KU win with Jason Bean? Is Jason Bean, with a full week of practice, good enough to help this KU team beat UCF? I lean toward yes, because we know what Jason Bean is, right? I mean, he's not as good as Jalen Daniels. He's a good backup. He's fast. He's slippery. You love what he can do in the running game, and he's got an arm. His decision-making and accuracy, not especially good, but he's got an arm. He can put the ball down the field. This, to me, is a game that is going to be close one way or the other. I have a hard time seeing either team running away in this game, although UCF will be running a lot again. That is a fast team on both sides of the ball. K-State fans know that well. Mm-hmm. I think with a week of being QB1 and running with the ones and being right there at the forefront for install and walkthrough and everything this week, I think Bean can do enough to help KU win this game. I am saying, though, Devin Neal, Dylan McDuffie, Daniel Highshaw, Jason Bean on the ground, mixing the wide receivers into the run game with some jet sweep stuff possibly. That, I think, is how KU is going to have its maximum success in this game. I think you've got to go not old school in terms of play calling. I'm not saying go I formation, 3 yards in a cloud of dust all game, but run to set up the pass in this game. I think a large portion of Bean's attempts should probably be play action fakes, trying to go vertical, suck in that defense, get Grimm going deep, try to run some outside concepts, Grimm underneath, Skinner going deep, Wilson going deep. He's had a really good year so far. Stuff like that, I think your run game is going to have to set up your offensive success.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think they do well to possess the football in this game, because I don't think you want to get a track meet with UCF. You're asking for trouble if you do that. So I think you want to possess the ball. I think you want to grind this game out if you're Kansas to the best of your ability, because Kansas really isn't built to do that, but they are built to run the ball effectively. So I think they're going to be run heavy, and I would have said that even if Jalen Daniels was going to play tomorrow. UCF is so explosive, and the question I have for Kansas is, can they keep the ball carriers in front of them? Can they limit the explosive running play? Can they keep UCF from scoring in a hurry? Kansas State had trouble doing that, and they've got a much better defense, in my opinion, than Kansas does. The other thing I wonder about for UCF, psychologically, where are they at? They blew a 28-point lead at home to Baylor last week.
And then immediately announced an extension for their head coach.
Yeah. So, where are they at? How are they, how do they come into this one? Road game, second trip in 3 weeks to the state of Kansas. This is a toss-up. It's virtually a pick-em in Vegas. The lines jumped the fence after the Daniels news. UCF's a 1.5, maybe a 2.5 point favorite in some places. That feels about right. I think this game's going to come down to one possession.
Let us know your thoughts. We told you earlier, we'll take your Chiefs predictions. We'll take your KU and K-State picks as well. K-State, heavy favorite against Oklahoma State. That game is tonight at 6:30. KU at 3 o'clock tomorrow as they take on UCF. Yours truly will be at that game, covering it live from the booth. We'll take your picks on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of our YouTube channel. We'll take them on the text line, 785-272-9429. We have to get to a commercial break. We'll come on back. We've got On Second Thought coming up right here on 580 Sports Talk. second thought, when we have to offer a little bit of a mea culpa for a bad take we had in recent memory. I told you earlier mine pertained to Thursday Night Football. And while I've gone 1-2 in these 3 games, in retrospect, it was not especially smart of me to put real American legal tender currency on the 2023 Washington Commanders 3 weeks in a row. Not an especially smart gambling move by you, boy.
Have you seen how many times Sam Howell's on pace to be sacked this year?
112.
99.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God, man.
He's bad. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know what they saw in him. They ran him out there for 1 game, and then they ran Taylor Heineke, who I think is totally functional and honestly should be playing for the Falcons right now. They ran him out of town so they could play Sam Howell. And he stinks. He's not good. I don't know what he gives you.
Yeah, it's such an interesting situation with Heineke because, he has hit his ceiling. He is, in fact, he's bumped up against it trying to break it. But, he is what he is. And that is, the bad is he's going to throw stupid interceptions. He's not very big. His arm strength is mediocre. The good is that he doesn't, suck. He actually can make plays in the pocket, on the move. He can run a little bit down the field. He's just a playmaker. Some guys are just gamers, and he's a gamer. His team currently, their quarterback, is not. Desmond Ridder is not very good. Sam Howell, I said I was going to give him half the season before I made a firm determination. But now in the last 3 weeks, when I've paid a lot of attention to the Commanders, they got their asses kicked by the Bills, who are good. No shame in losing to them. They played tough, but lost. That was mostly due to coaching, to the Eagles. And then they got embarrassed by the Bears, and he was not good. Terry McLaurin had 1 catch for 3 yards through 3 quarters of the game last night. How did you let that happen? How? You can't. And I feel really dumb for putting money on them 3 weeks in a row.
Look, man, all I'm saying is Dick Butkus died so that the Bears could live.
That was the dumb part. I saw the news, obviously. We talked about it at the end of the show yesterday, and, of course, made one of the greatest linebackers of all time, rest in peace. You can't bet against the team that just had one of their all-time greats die.
Mm-hmm.
What was I thinking?
Hey, you've got another chance tonight, Illinois, Nebraska.
That's true. That's true.
In Champaign.
Illinois is going all out. They put in orange number 50 jersey on their alma mater statue, which is a big point of pride on the Illinois campus. They're going to wear helmet stickers. Bielema and the whole Illinois staff are going to wear Dick Butkus shirts. The celebration of Dick Butkus yesterday was really cool. Yeah. Sad day, obviously, for football, but what a freaking life that Dick Butkus lived. What a life.
On second thought, I should not have said that the Tampa Bay Rays were going to win the American League I believe I made that prediction on Tuesday. That was a bad prediction. Shouldn't have said that.
What happened? Because they
scored 1 run in 2 games, man. And played miserable defense, and Texas is really good.
I guess I mean more so long term. When start of the season, you would have thought, oh, this team's better than the 27 Yankees.
Well, they fattened up against some of the worst teams in baseball. If you go back and you look at that, they played the Nationals and the A's and the Tigers. They really did have a very easy schedule. And they did. They romped. I think they won their first 13, something like that. They were 20-3.
Mm-hmm.
And then they finished the season with their best pitcher, Shane McClanahan, having had Tommy John surgery.
Yep.
And their best player, Wander Franco, firmly down the memory hole for goodness knows how long. We may never see him again. So that was probably a pretty bad sign that anytime you go into a short series and you don't have your dudes, you need dudes.
I knew once Wander Franco was removed from the Rays lineup in MLB The Show that it was over.
Yeah, they don't take the diamond cards and put them into free agency.
No, that
when they did that, I said, "Oh, this is bad.
Yeah, this is over." We are getting some of your predictions for KU and K-State rolling in the YouTube comments. Mark, he's got KU by 10 tomorrow over UCF. K-State by 2 touchdowns tonight against Oklahoma State. Let us know your thoughts. KU, K-State, Chiefs, your predictions to the YouTube comment section or to the text line. We have to get to a break. Matt Derrick's up next on 580 Sports Talk. Well, let's go to Kansas City, where we talk with our good pal, Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com. It is our Chiefs insider here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt joining us via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Go check out all of his phenomenal work covering the reigning Super Bowl champions at ChiefsDigest.com. And you can find him on Twitter at Matt Derrick. And Matt, we will get to the Chiefs momentarily, but I've got to ask you about your Missouri Tigers, 5-0, ranked 21 in the country. Dan picked them yesterday to beat LSU this week. How you feeling? How are you feeling about the alma mater?
Yeah, this is dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. If Dan is taking the Tigers to win, this feels pretty good. I mean, this is what we thought that maybe Eli could become, and I think that they hired a new offensive coordinator this year that I think has really allowed him to kind of get a little bit more hands off, and the offense has opened up, and they've really started using some of the tools that they have, and the last few weeks have been impressive. I mean, this will be a big test for the Tigers, but I think they got a chance to pull this one off.
Where is your excitement level versus your, oh my God, don't think about us, we want to go under the radar level with this team?
There's really never any going under the radar level. I mean, I want College Game Day there. I mean, come on, it's just as much as possible. Get all the focus we can. What I do have as a Missouri Tiger fan, however, is fatalism, which is just, when is this thing going to fall apart? How heartbreaking will the fall apart be? I mean, will it be the fifth down? Will it be the flea kicker? I mean, something always happens. I mean, that's what happens at Mizzou. It's just how heartbreaking will this want to be.
We are talking with Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com. It's our Chiefs insider here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, Matt, let's get to the Kansas City Chiefs. They take on the Minnesota Vikings coming up this weekend. True or false, the number one biggest concern for the Chiefs in this game is how to slow down Justin Jefferson?
I'm going to say false. It's up there. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, Jefferson is just too good, but you can't slow him down. I mean, you absolutely can't. He's going to get his yards. I think that, Justin Jefferson can have a great game, and the Vikings can still lose, which they have been doing. And the reason why they've been losing is because their defense can't stop anybody. And if they don't stop Patrick Mahomes, then Chiefs are going to win this game.
How concerned should the Chiefs be about the other weapons outside of Justin Jefferson? I mean, he's fantastic. A lot of people, I know Dan feels this way, think he's the number one wide receiver in the NFL. I think indisputably he's at least in the top 2 or 3, if not number 1. But TJ Hawkinson has had a really nice season at tight end for them. Jordan Addison, first-round draft pick, looks pretty good so far. I was a huge fan of his coming out of the draft. I was hoping the Chiefs might end up with him. And then KJ Osborne, I think, is a really nice number 3 receiver as well. How worrisome is the rest of that group for the Vikings when it comes to this Chiefs defense?
Yeah, and that's why, I was pretty interested in what Steve Spagnuolo had to say yesterday about that, because, when he started talking about how do you face a team that's got not only an elite wide receiver like Jefferson, but then has a tight end like Hawkinson who's playing so well. You can't bracket them both. I mean, you can't double team both those guys, because if you do, I mean, you're going to leave somebody wide open. You can't give all the attention to somebody. So, the Vikings, they will move around Jefferson to try and create mismatches. They'll try to find some places where they can isolate him and get him some one-on-one matchups. But even if they don't, I mean, there's a pretty good chance TJ Hawkinson is going to be in a one-on-one matchup, or, one of the other receivers. And you're right. I mean, Addison was one of those guys that could go any direction, but seems like a perfect fit for that Minnesota offense. And Osborne is really underrated. I mean, that could be, he could be a number 1 or number 2 receiver on some teams, maybe even in Kansas City. I think he's that good. That's one of the reasons why I think that the Vikings offense has been so good this early in this season. I mean, there's no doubt they've been putting up a lot of points, and when they're not turning over the football, which is a little uncharacteristic of Kirk Cousins, I mean, this is going to be a tough team to beat. You just don't want to be, I don't think, playing the Vikings the week that they figure it out and they stop making mistakes, kind of like the way with the Chiefs. Right now, this offense has been struggling because they make mistakes. Well, you don't want to be playing them the week that they stop making mistakes.
Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com is our Chiefs insider, and he joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline every Friday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. You can check Matt out on Twitter at Matt Derrick, and of course, check out his work at ChiefsDigest.com. Matt, are we overstating the Chiefs' offensive struggles? I don't think anybody would argue that it's been A-plus football, but the fact of the matter is, if Patrick Mahomes doesn't slide down at the end of that Jets game, the Chiefs would have put up 30 points on a Jets defense that I consider one of the 10 best in the NFL and would have done it on the road in prime time. So are we maybe overstating the level to which this offense is struggling just because the standard is so high for them?
Yeah, I mean, I put it as grading on a curve, and I think we absolutely are, because we're grading this offense against what it can be and what it seems to be year in and year out. So I don't think that we're judging it by the rest of the NFL. So we're grading it on what we think that Patrick Mahomes should be and what he has been, and right now we're comparing him to an MVP season. Is he having an MVP season right now? No, he's not. Is there any reason why he shouldn't be? Not that I can really point to, other than, he's got a young and inexperienced wide receiving core, and it's going to be up to him to elevate that group. And I think it's going to be tougher than it was last year. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster was the one guy that I think is the difference maker between these two groups of receivers. And, and he's in that category with Tyreek Hill, even though at this point in his career, Juju is not Tyreek. He's still that guy that you can count on. I mean, he's still the guy that on 3rd and 8 wants the football. If he gets the football, he's going to make a play. I'm just not sure that the Chiefs have that receiver right now that, one, it's in their mindset that they believe that with 100% conviction that if they get the ball, the play's coming to them, that they can make it and get a play done. And I'm not sure the Chiefs have that 100% conviction that there's anybody outside of Travis Kelce in the tight end room. I don't think there is. And so, yeah, I mean, like I said, at some point the Chiefs are going to figure things out. And really what's been bothering them have been the mistakes. It's been the penalties. It's been turnovers. It was the drops in week 1. I mean, to your point, Dan, I mean, if not only the slide, but say you take away one penalty that wipes out a 51-yard touchdown to Marquez Valdez-Scantling, you take away a drop by Kadarius Toney, you take away another penalty, you take away 3 plays, and all of a sudden the Chiefs could have 21 more points on the season and be 4-0. That margin is that slim between, being what they are offensively and looking at them and saying, well, this is an undefeated team that looks like nobody can stop them. If and when they correct these mistakes, it's going to be just fine.
Do you think the Chiefs discovered an identity in the running game on Sunday against the Jets? Isaiah Pacheco went over 100 yards. It hasn't been a common occurrence in the Mahomes era to have a single running back go for 100 plus, but Pacheco did it, and it was the way he did it, running hard between the tackles, that I think sometimes the Chiefs like to get guys on the perimeter and have that be their running game. But do you think the Chiefs maybe found something last week with regards to their ability to control the game and to set a tone right there between the tackles with a runner like Pacheco?
If they didn't find that, I think that they need to. I mean, maybe it's just something that needs to be repeated for the offensive game planners to figure out how to incorporate it more. And some of it's on Mahomes. I mean, there will be times that they'll point the finger a little bit on Mahomes that maybe he should be given the ball on the RPOs more to the run, because he's always going to end up, deciding to throw the ball more often than not in those situations. In that case, you make the decision out of his hands and just, let him hand off the ball to Pacheco, because you've got a running back and an offensive line that I think is built to run the football well. You've got an interior that is a tenacious set of guys that can blow open some holes, and they did that against the Jets. So I don't know. I mean, Andy Reid's never going to be a guy that's going to intentionally run the ball 35 times and have that kind of split that he did against the Jets. But as far as just running the ball more frequently and running it more efficiently, I think they can do that, and that just helps the passing game all the more. So I think if they can find a renewed commitment to Pacheco in that run game, I think they'll like the result.
The Vikings love to blitz. They bring a 5th or a 6th rusher more often than just about any other team in the NFL. They do a lot of zone blitzing stuff. It's a Brian Flores defense. It is what it is. Who does that set up potentially to have a big day in the passing game? Is it Rashee Rice? Is it Travis Kelce? Is it going to be a big day in the screen game potentially? How do you see the passing game most likely to be getting on track against the way the Vikings like to play?
I mean, if we're gonna take some lessons that we learned from the Jets and apply it towards this week, maybe the guy to watch is Derrick McKinnon because he's going home to Minnesota. I mean, this is the team that drafted him. They spent most of his career with before he came to Kansas City. I think he's absolutely primed to want to get the ball and make some plays. So just like Pacheco going to New Jersey last week, maybe that's the guy that we should be watching. I mean, Rice is always a potential. I mean, if he can just hold on to the football and make that one catch or two a game that seems to get away from him, he's on the brink of maybe becoming a guy who could be, get his first 100-yard game. There's a lot of guys. I mean, if Brian Flores is going to blitz, you know that Patrick Mahomes is going to eat it up. So who is he going to go to? I mean, the Vikings will do everything they can to make sure that's not Travis Kelce. And I don't believe Kelsey's 100%. So doubling a hurt Travis Kelce is going to make his life a little bit more difficult. One of those other guys has to step up. And if it is the screen game and dumping it off to McKinnon, I can see that. I can make a case for any of the receivers, but those two would be my pick. I mean, Rice and McKinnon seem really built for this team because they are probably going to blitz a lot. There's going to be a lot of man coverage, and I kind of want to see what Rice does and if facing almost exclusively man coverage.
Just a couple more questions for Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider from ChiefsDigest.com. That's where you can go to find all of Matt's fantastic work covering the Super Bowl champs, and you can find him on Twitter as well, at Matt Derrick. He joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline every Friday at this time to preview the Chiefs weekend. You mentioned Kelce probably not 100% right now. Is this the kind of thing where you can put a timeline on how quickly or at what point he might get to 100%, or is it truly a wait and see kind of thing?
Yeah, it probably is a wait and see thing. I mean, those bone bruises and what he got with his hyperextended knee can always last a little while. And, he just turned 34, so things aren't as easy as they used to be. Next week is kind of a double-edged sword. I'm sure that coming off the game against the Vikings and then turning around real quickly against the Broncos on that Thursday is going to be tough for him, but the mini bye week will probably be really good for him, just having a few extra days in a row off. I think that would be really beneficial. I mean, it's like a lot of things that, with injuries, feel like that his probably his best opportunity to truly get healthy is going to be the bye week. And then when you're hoping that maybe that extra week off will really help him bounce back. But, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it's still a few more weeks before you see Kelce really kind of return to form. I think he's fighting through it. I mean, the absolute best he can. I don't think you can tell just how much is bothering him. He won't tell you how much is bothering him if it is. But it's bound to. I mean, you just don't recover. Guys just don't recover from those kind of injuries that quickly. So it's bound to be limiting him. Like I said, I think it's still going to be a few weeks before you see him really start to be able to cut it loose a little bit more.
Do you think we'll see Nick Bolton back on the field?
It seems probably 50-50 to me. The fact that he was at least a participant all week's a good sign. But being limited on Friday is not usually a good sign. The real warning flag to me was, Steve Spagnuolo basically saying it's going to be a game time decision this week. There's not really a huge reason to rush him back. They've got some depth at that position. The only issue that you could possibly flag would be that, Drew Tranquill has a wrist injury that he's dealing with. He was a full participant all week, though. It was not a super hard-hitting week of practice. They did a soft practice on Wednesday and Friday. Really, Thursday was their only full contact practice. So I don't know how healthy Tranquill fully is. So I could see maybe wanting to have both those guys available, especially against the Vikings. But if you could give Bolton another week, I think they would like to do that just so that they could make sure that he was a closer to 100% going to the rest of the season.
All right, Matt, we've got just about 30 seconds here. Chiefs are favored by 3.5. That line has gone down over the last couple of days. Do they get the cover and the win?
I mean, I think they do. I think this is going to be a track meet. It's, to me, a big part of it's going to be just what we learn about this Chiefs defense. And if they're as good as we've seen the first 4 weeks, or they have been feasting on some rough quarterback play and some offenses that are below average. I think it might be a little bit of both, but the Vikings, I think, are just one of the better offenses around. Kirk Cousins, when he doesn't turn over the football, is a good quarterback. He's got a lot of weapons around him. I think the Chiefs get healthy this week because this is a defense that they should absolutely be able to light up. It's a defense that does not match up well against the Chiefs and isn't playing well on top of that. So I think the Chiefs will score, but I think they might get to vote some points too. I will go with Kansas City 38-31.
Check out ChiefsDigest.com for all of Matt Derrick's fantastic work covering the Chiefs. He joins us every Friday here on 580 Sports Talk for our Chiefs Insider. Matt, enjoy the football coming up this weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate you, Brendan. Take care, everybody.
That is Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com. of the day, final half hour of the week for 580 Sports Talk coming your way. Brendan Dworzinski and Dan Lucero here with you. K-State football on a Friday today, 6:30 kick, 4:30 pregame, so we've got to get out of here to make room for Wyatt, Stan, and the crew. So we've got just half an hour left on the show today. Thanks so much for spending some of your afternoon hours with us, whether you're listening on 580 AM, 104.9 FM, online at 580WIBW.com, or checking us out on YouTube, where our channel is called 580 Sports Talk. We appreciate you for spending some of your hard-earned free time with us on this Red Friday afternoon. We'll get to our game picks for the weekend here in just a second. And if you've got any more thoughts on any of the action coming up this weekend, K-State tonight, KU tomorrow, Chiefs on Sunday, hit us up on the text line. That number, as always, 785-272-9429. And again, our comment section on YouTube can be found on our channel, 580 Sports Talk. You can click on the live stream, hang out with us, watch the show along with listening, and be a part of the comment section today and every single day when we are on the air. Dan, should we get to our game picks for the weekend?
Let's do it.
All right, let's start with our NFL picks for the week. We've got Jake's picks as well. I'm going with two dogs this week, and one of them, I'm going to be completely honest with you, I got wrong which team was at home and which team was on the road, and I do not care. Cowboys. I thought this game was in Dallas. It is not.
No.
It is being played in San Jose. Is that
Santa Clara?
Santa Clara. One of the Sands.
I think that's
Santas.
right.
And it is Santa Clara. Yeah. 49ers were favored by 4. That line is dropped to 3.5. Cowboys are a 3.5-point dog. They're not at home like I thought they were, and I don't care. I'm taking it anyway. This is going to be one of the hardest tests that San Francisco has faced so far this season. They've got a unique, they've got what before the season looked like a really challenging schedule coming up. Cowboys, Browns, Vikings, Bengals, Jaguars. The 49ers. Well, the Browns' offense stinks, but their defense is pretty good. The Bengals look awful. The Vikings have taken a huge step back, and the Jaguars are kind of lost in the wilderness right now. That'll come after the 49ers bye week. So if the 49ers can win this game here, they're going to head into whatever week that would be. They play the Eagles first weekend of December. They're going to go into that game with a lot of momentum, possibly. They have to play the Seahawks twice in there as well. But I think this is a game where the Cowboys are going to continue their momentum from this past weekend. They picked up a big win, a very impressive win. I should note that game was at home. I like this Cowboys defense a lot, even without Trevon Diggs. I think the offense is playing pretty well overall. I'm going to go with a low-scoring game in this one. I think the Cowboys, though, have a chance to win it. 3.5-point dogs, even on the road. I'm going to take them there. And then a home dog I've got for you. A lot of home dogs this week in the NFL. Dogs are barking. They're barking.
Apparently, we must be all big Drake fans because these picks are for all the dogs.
Hey, there you go. Have you listened to any of the new album yet?
I have heard 8 a.m. in Charlotte, and that's all I care to listen to.
I don't like Drake.
I don't check for new Drake stuff generally because I am 37 years old and
not on TikTok.
My relationships with women are not toxic.
Yeah.
But I will.
They're also over 18.
Yes. Correct. But I will listen to anybody rap over Conductor Williams beats. So
I'm going Pittsburgh.
He's a Kansas City guy, by the way, Conductor Williams.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I'm going Pittsburgh, 4.5-point underdog against Baltimore. 5 of the last 6 and 6 of the last 8 games between these two teams have been decided by 4 or fewer points, and Pittsburgh has won 5 of the last 6 head-to-head meetings as well. I will take the Steelers in this one. Sounds like Kenny Pickett is good to go. Mike Tomlin's going to have that defensive strategy ready to go for this Baltimore team, even with the Ravens running a slightly different offense this year with Todd Monken as their offensive coordinator. I like this Baltimore team. I don't know that I love this Baltimore team yet. This rivalry feels to always play close games. So I'm going to take the Steelers to keep this one close, plus 4.5 at home.
It's an interesting pick. I think if Baltimore were more healthy, the line would be much higher.
That's just sort of a cooked-in part of the Ravens at this point, though, right? Is that they're just not ever healthy?
Yeah, they can't get healthy. I'm also riding with 2 underdogs this week. I've got Houston getting 1.5 against Atlanta.
I like it.
This is me fading Desmond Ridder. I just don't think he's very good. I think that Atlanta offense is stuck. I think Houston's a real team. I think they've got a real quarterback in C.J. Stroud, and I think Houston wins this game and gets back over 500. And I've got the Colts plus 2.5 against Tennessee. I know Tennessee's coming off of that dominant win over Cincinnati, but they got the tee off against a quarterback who couldn't move and an offense that wasn't really functional as a result. Indianapolis has a quarterback who can move. Anthony Richardson, early returns are pretty positive for him. I know the Colts lost last week, but they lost in overtime. They came back from 23-0 down to force overtime. They're really good against the run. That's kind of Tennessee's whole thing. So I like Indianapolis as 2.5-point dogs to cover that small spread at home against Tennessee.
They're kind of fun. I kind of like this Indianapolis team. I don't know that they're good, but they're fun, and I'll take fun football any day of the week. Jake's picks for the NFL this weekend. He's also on the underdogs in this one. Monday night, he's got Packers +1 against the Raiders.
Jake is not here to try and defeat he's copying my picks allegations after I went 5-0 last week, but he's copying my picks.
He is. You two have a lot of the same picks. I also hate when Jake picks the Packers. I really, really hate it. That line jumped the fence, and to be completely honest with you, I don't know why. Like, I don't know what happened over the course of the last several days for it to go from Packers -1.5 to Vegas -1.5 or 1 in some cases.
That's odd.
I'm just really not sure about that. Also, Jake is on Houston +1.5 versus Atlanta. I like that pick.
Yeah. It just we might not get many more chances to fade Desmond Ridder. So
yeah, that's true.
We gotta take advantage while we can.
I will admit, and it really hasn't come into play more than I think once so far this year, and my record is crap anyway. I often am the last one to get my picks in because Fridays I've got other stuff going on, preparing for high school football and whatnot. If I see the two of you have the same pick and then I also do, I always change it. I always change it before I submit my picks. But again, my picks suck this year, so maybe that's the wrong move for me. College picks for the weekend. Jake is on Washington State, the Cougs +3.5 against UCLA. That one in Westwood. And, well, that's not in Westwood. UCLA is, whatever. You know what I mean. Colorado -3.5 against Arizona State in Tempe.
That line went down to 3.5.
Interesting. No Travis Hunter.
No Travis Hunter. Still not sure about Shiloh Sanders. Are they even going to get off? I mean, Colorado might not get off the bus. This feels like one of the games. There's no hype. It's not a circus. Are they going to be as hyped up to play this game as they have been?
That's going to be one of the telling things about this Colorado team. And there's a lot of time left to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But can they play in a game where it is not outside momentum propping them up? I do think that is a worthwhile question. Now,
like, they should win this game.
Yeah,
Make no mistake about it. Like, they got the better quarterback. They've got better skill talent. Arizona State's not particularly good. But the Sun Devils have played better football their last couple of games out. They've found some solutions on offense. And if an underdog gets out in front of Colorado, how did the bus respond? We don't know. We haven't seen that. So, I think that's a very interesting game. I'm not betting Colorado anymore. I took my winnings. I took my winnings after I was able to get them at plus value on the money line against Nebraska. And that's the last time I'm touching a Colorado game all season.
I took which game? I took Oregon a couple weeks ago. I enjoyed that. Now, though, that we're getting games in which the teams are closer to one another, that it's like not a complete toss-up anymore, I think I'm staying away from Colorado because I feel like that actually makes it more of a toss-up gambling-wise, and I just do not want to deal with that. My picks for college football this weekend, more underdogs. Give me all the underdogs. Louisville. I told you about this yesterday. Louisville +6.5 at home against Notre Dame, number 25, hosting number 10. I like Notre Dame. They haven't been quite as efficient slinging the ball around with Sam Hartman in recent weeks. That's not to say he's not a good quarterback. He's a very good quarterback, one of the best in the country. I love what Louisville is doing offensively. Jack Plummer is going crazy for them offensively, crazy efficient, throwing for a ton of yards. Jeff Brom, awesome coach. I like Louisville to keep that one close, if not win outright in an upset in Louisville. Underrated city, by the way. Give me the Cards there +6.5. And our garbage dumpster juice pick of the week. We asked Paul Meyerberg about it yesterday. I'm riding with Paul. Akron +4.5 at home. Wish it was still at the Rubber Bowl. Taking on Northern Illinois. Bad vibes in DeKalb right now. Give me the best 1-4 G5 team in the country, Akron. That's what Paul Meyerberg called them yesterday.
Taking Paul Meyerberg's advice on the program.
Zip them. Zip them up.
So, Jake copied me once again. I am also on Washington State. Vegas doesn't seem to like Washington State. I think Vegas has mispriced, misvalued Washington State throughout the season. They're good. They're really good. And again, better quarterback in this matchup. Cam Ward, I trust more than UCLA freshman Dante Moore.
Cam's hot, too.
And I think Washington State, they're not a great defense, but I think they're a good one. I know UCLA has played really well on defense, but how much of that was going up against a broken Utah offense? This is not that.
Good question.
So I like Washington State to cover that 3.5 at the Rose Bowl. And then I have few rules in life, but this is one of them. If I can get Alabama as only a 1.5 favorite in a football game, I'm going to bet on Alabama to cover that measly spread. They are only favored by 1.5 at Texas A&M. And look, Texas A&M playing some good football, out to a 4-1 start. We all saw Alabama fall on its face against Texas. They've been whipping teams ever since. And, there's this whole thing where Nick Saban didn't lose to his old assistants. Jimbo Fisher, one of his old assistants.
Yes, indeed.
So, Alabama, I think they're going to cover that and win that game.
I like that one. I think we have we as a college football place, space, I guess, if you will, we have taken Alabama for granted this year. Slow start, obviously not a star quarterback anymore, but I think we're going back to man ball Alabama, where they're just going to beat you to death for a full 60 minutes. I think college football is kind of undersold Alabama for this year. Wild card pick for the week. You're up first, Dan.
All right. I am targeting that LSU Missouri game here.
That's a fun over.
I've already said that I like Missouri to cover and maybe even win this game. In fact, I think I did put my name on it that they're going to win this game. The spread is moving in Missouri's favor, which is the kind of thing that always makes me nervous. I think it's down to 4.5 now. Sat at 6.5 most of the week, and I think I saw it down at 4.5 earlier today. But bleep it, we ball. I'll ride with Brady Cook and Luther Burden at home against Mizzou, and I think there are going to be a ton of points in this game. The total is 64.5. I'm going over.
That has moved 63.5 now.
Ooh.
You got a point in that direction, or a point toward your bet.
Love that.
I assume you're keeping it then?
Yeah, we're going to keep that.
And also the line, at least at FanDuel, is currently still sitting at 5.5. So not bad.
Maybe that's bounced back.
Bounced back a little bit. Jake's pick for his wild card. He's abandoned Justin Jefferson.
Coward.
Only one loss and jumping ship.
Jake, not on hand to address the coward accusations and the copying Dan's picks accusations.
Wow.
It's a real shame.
Wow. All right. He's got Isaiah Pacheco anytime touchdown this weekend. That, to me, is an interesting one. I bet if you want it, what is the value on that? In fact, I'm going to check what the value is. We don't worry about those kind of things when we do our weekly picks. But if you look at the book of record, FanDuel right now, for anytime touchdown scorer, Isaiah Pacheco only minus 105. That's almost even money on a Pacheco anytime touchdown. I don't know, man. You heard me talk early part of this week, our post-game show last week. Love getting the ball to him. When he's hot, use him because he can use a bigger load. He can take care of the ball. You can trust him to be a playmaker for you. And I liked your key earlier today that if you've got the opportunity to run between the tackles and wear down the Vikings, do it. Use this big offensive line you've got. Use Pacheco's strength as a physical runner. Use that to your advantage. I just have a hard time banking on a Chiefs running back to score a touchdown. Even unless you're Jerick McKinnon in the midst of the greatest running back receiving stretch of all time, I just have a hard time trusting a Chiefs running back to be used by the goal line. Maybe I'm an idiot for that, but it's just hard. It's the Chiefs. I don't know how you bank on it, but that's just me. My wild card pick for the weekend. I'm back on Vandy overs. They are 5-0 going over so far this season.
That's good logic. LSU's 5-0 to the over. Mizzou's 4-1 to the over this year.
A lot of points in these games. Vandy plays no defense. I have seen 2 Vanderbilt football games with my own eyeballs this year. They just refuse to play defense, or they are physically incapable of playing defense. 51.5. I know Florida is not very good, but I do think that Florida's got the ability to put up more points, and I think they'll do it against this Vanderbilt team. 51.5. Give me the over in Vanderbilt at Florida. That one in the swamp, too. I think Florida's going to put up plenty of points in that game. I also don't really trust Florida's defense to keep Vandy scoreless, so I think we'll get to the over
Got
there.
that, too, yeah.
All right, Survivor Pool picks for the week. We all won last week. Clean sweep. Denver, Philly, San Francisco, all wins. Thanks, Broncos.
Couple of sweats there, but yeah, we all got through.
Jake and I have the same pick this week. Carolina is going to Detroit to take on the Lions. We are both taking the home favorite Detroit Lions.
Detroit -10. I didn't feel confident enough to make it one of my 2 NFL picks for the show contest, but I'm probably going to play that. I just think Carolina's offensive line is so bad as to render their offense virtually not functional. And Detroit has been getting plenty of pass rush pressure so far this year. I have trouble seeing Carolina score much in that game, so I think Detroit routs them.
I admittedly overrated the wide receiver group for Carolina. I thought it was a decent group for a young quarterback. Nothing spectacular, but okay. They're worse as a group than I thought they might be. You can live with a rookie quarterback with either a bad line or bad receivers, because if you've got at least a line that can have time, you can make enough plays. You can check the ball down a little bit. You can live that way. If you've got good receivers but a bad line, you can trust those guys to make plays. You can go to more quick game stuff, try to still create some offensive momentum. Carolina doesn't have either, and that's really tough. Did I miss something why everyone turned on Bryce Young as a prospect suddenly within the last 2 weeks? Like, I know he's looked not very good. He got hurt for a week. Carolina's awful. Frank Reich has totally phoned it in. I feel like all I see on Twitter now is, oh, can you believe Carolina gave up a chance to next year get Caleb Williams just to draft this guy? What am I missing?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's 4 games. He's only played in 3.
Give it time. Got to give it time.
Just bizarre to me.
I've got Miami as my survivor pick. They play the Giants. The Giants are wretched. They can't block anybody. Daniel Jones stinks. I'm looking forward to picking against the Giants a lot in this survivor pool.
Those are our picks for the weekend, college football and NFL picks. By the way, I should update you. Our records, Jake still in the driver's seat. What a freaking year Jake is having. 17-6, picking against the spread and Justin Jefferson overs up until this week. Dan coming off a 5-0 heater last week, 14-9, just 3 games back. I am way in the basement, 5 games behind Dan and currently 8 behind Jake at 9-14.
Long season.
Hot start for me last week. I got that under Oregon State, Utah on Friday night. I was feeling good, and it only went downhill from there. Went 1-3 in my final 4 picks. Ooh. Those are our picks for this week. We'll take one final timeout before K-State football. We'll come back, wrap things up with the final word after this on 580 Sports Talk. Time to wrap up 580 Sports Talk with a quick final word, Dan.
You know, I want to give credit to the Minnesota Vikings because I do think that they've got some talent. They're better than their 1-3 record. But if the Chiefs are capable of the things on offense, I believe they're still very capable of. And if they're capable of the things on defense that they've shown through the first 4 weeks, I think they're going to be just fine at US Bank Stadium on Sunday. And I think they're going to win that football game.
Have you ever seen the meme of the guy sitting in a chair outside of SeaWorld with a sign that says, SeaWorld, what sea? All I see is pools. It should be Pool World. You ever seen that picture?
I have.
Well, that pertains to my final word because tonight is Late Night in the Fog at KU. Flo Rida is playing. He's the musical guest. Scrimmage for the men's and women's teams at KU. Big fun event. All that good stuff. Always an enjoyable time. The concert begins at 8:50. That is not late night. It's a Friday. That's not even late on like a Wednesday. This is reasonably beyond dinner time in the fog. Come on. Kick that back a couple of hours. I know you're trying to be family friendly, but come on. A little bit later than that.
Trying to be family friendly at Late Night in the Fog. What was it that made them decide that they wanted to do that?
Acrobatic dancers. That does it for 580 Sports Talk today. We've got K-State football coverage coming up on the other side of this break. We've got our Lewis Toyota High School football game of the week coming up, 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock kick over on Country 106.9. Shawnee Heights versus Wamego. We will join you for that one again on Country 106.9 a little bit later on tonight. And we're back with a full show 2 until 6 coming up on Monday with the full crew. So until then, for Dan Lucero and Jake Laban, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Thanks for listening to 580 Sports Talk.